Hey bio fans, Anya here from the Biography Wrap, and today we are going to explore the life of Carley Allison through the movie Kiss and Cry, directed by Sean Cisterna. So grab your seats and do watch out for spoilers. The movie begins with Carley figure skating at a competition and using it, but Shin, her coach, wanted her to work harder and get better. He tells her to treat triumph like a funeral, and a funeral like a triumph. Carley says her motto is to always smile. She later goes to a party where she meets John and tries to put a sticky note on his back. He catches her and then bets her that he can guess what was written on it. Carley says he has 3 tries, and if he fails, she will destroy the note forever. Carley's friend suggests that he gets to take her on a date if he wins. After the party, Carley was on her way back home when John called her and asked her if he could walk her to the door. He then tells her that her friend said that he did actually guess the word written on the note correctly and that she owes him a date. He asks her on a date to the zoo, and she agrees to it. But then John finds out that Carley is a competitive figure skater and says that athletes usually don't have much time for anything other than themselves, which upsets Carley, and the date is called off. The next day during her skating practice, Carley is breathless and is unable to perform as well as she usually does. Her coach, Shin, gives her a 2-minute break, but she still isn't able to catch her breath and faints. She goes to the doctor and is diagnosed with exercise-induced asthma. So she takes the asthma pump and continues practicing, but the pump doesn't work. So she goes back and is asked to take a blood test. Later, at practice, her condition doesn't improve, and Shin tells her to train harder or she'll never be able to go to the Olympics. In her biology class, John asks her out again and she agrees. He surprises her by taking her to see a lion cub, and she loves it. Afterwards, they go for dinner, and John tells Carley about his ex-girlfriend who was in the volleyball team and was cheating on him, which made him very bitter, thus making him say his earlier statement. Carley then starts having trouble breathing, heads to the washroom, but faints on her way. She is rushed to the hospital, and they find her heart rate double what it's supposed to be. Carley is then diagnosed with a rare type of melanoma, with a malignant tumor on the right side of her trachea. The doctors tell her that she's lucky because they can remove her tumor, but since it is next to her thyroid, they'll first have to shrink it with chemotherapy. She then gets a tracheotomy to help her breathe. After the procedure, she writes on a whiteboard and says that she cannot speak because the anesthetic didn't work, and she could feel all the pain and felt like she was drowning. Later, John, Riley, and Samantha, Carley's sisters, sneak a giant panda toy into the ICU. A few weeks later, Carley started her chemotherapy. She also had to have her trach tube changed and cleaned every so often, which she found very gross. John tells Carley that he's going to be with her through all of this, no matter how ugly it gets, and Carley makes him promise that he will always smile. Carley's chemo makes her go bald, and she starts wearing a wig. Later, John and Carley go ice skating, where she meets her old friends and finds out that Rebecca, her best friend, didn't invite her to a party, which makes her feel unwanted. She asks John why is he even with her, and he tells her that she's just as intelligent, funny, and beautiful as she was when they first met, which makes her happy, and they start joking around again. At her chemotherapy session, her nurse tells her to be aware of exactly what she's up against and to not take her cancer lightly, which upsets her and makes her dislike the nurse. She then goes back to school after months, where she meets Rebecca, who apologizes and shows her that she chopped off her hair to relate to Carley. She then takes Carley to a place where her schoolmates and teachers were chopping off and donating their hair so that they could raise money for Carley's cancer research. Carley then goes for a live interview where she is asked how she stays so positive and if she ever gets sad. Carley says that she does get sad, but feels life is too short to be unhappy. Carley gets ready for prom, but since she had lost a lot of weight, her dress didn't fit her anymore, so she decided to alter it herself. She meets John, who gifts her with a necklace instead of a corsage, which she loves. They go to prom, dance, and then go to an abandoned classroom where they start kissing. Well, in the midst of it, John takes off Carley's wig. She slaps him and gets embarrassed, but John tells her she looks so beautiful, and they start kissing again. Later, Carley gets the tumor out and stops chemo, and her hair starts growing back. When she wakes up after the procedure, she says it is the worst she has ever felt. She then gets a dog and starts staying away and avoiding John. John thought it was because he hadn't introduced Carley to his parents, which caused Carley to ignore him, but it was because she didn't want him to ruin his life taking care of a sick girl. Instead, she wanted him to enjoy his life to the fullest. She felt that for a girl who was always trying to make everyone smile, she couldn't be the reason he didn't. Later, Carley and her family are at the hospital, and she says that earlier they thought that her tumor was a melanoma, but then they confirmed it to be a clear cell sarcoma. She explains that melanoma is like a bunch of rats you find in your house, but when you go to shoo them away, you realize that the only reason they were there was because of a termite infestation that runs throughout the structure of your house. That is clear cell sarcoma. She says that her cancer is so rare that it makes her 1 in 3.5 billion. The doctor says that Carley was 1 in 2 cases worldwide, but her surgery was successful and she is technically cancer-free. On her way out, she meets her nurse, who asks if she hates her. The nurse tells Carley that they work all day and night to save patients, and in the end, the patients end up hating them. She then tells Carley that she is currently on hour 22 of her shift and that her cat has been alone all this time, making them laugh. The nurse then tells Carley that she killed cancer and that she is proud of her. A few months after the surgery, she goes back to Shin and starts training again. Later, at the hospital, she meets Mr. Bowman, one of the donors at the hospital and the senior official at the National Hockey League. He invites Carley to sing the national anthem at one of the games, and she gladly accepts. Later, at home, John comes to visit her. He tells her he wasn't embarrassed by her, instead was of his family. That's why he didn't introduce her to them. He apologizes and tells her that he brought his family to meet her. She loves the surprise, and they all have a great time. Carley starts performing figure skating again, but feels she is not good enough. But Shin tells her that he is very proud of her. She then goes for a follow-up CT scan, where the doctor tells her that cancer had invaded her lungs. Carley was distraught. She spends her time cuddling up with her mom, and then with John. Her nurse, Sophie, told her to write a letter to Cancer to help focus her feelings. The letter told Cancer to piss off. Carley says that she felt it was a little harsh, but totally accurate. She describes cancer as someone who just starts growing inside of you, but the more it grows, the more you die. She says that cancer was like a really needy friend, except it was not a friend at all. Carley was just like a petri dish, providing the correct ecosystem for cancer. Carley says that cancer had taught her so much in the 2 years that she didn't feel that it was a killer inside her. She said she chose to smile through all of it. It reminded her that she was surrounded by love. Later, John and Carley go to ice skate. Her mom gives them hot chocolate and urges them to go on and have fun. Carley tells John that he forgets to smile and tells him to always smile. The end credits say that Carley was diagnosed at the age of 17 and passed away at the age of 19. After 2 years of fighting cancer and staying positive throughout all of it. That's it from the movie Kiss and Cry. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. Let me know what you think of this true story-based drama, and make sure to check out this next one.